My parents are taking it on board quite well, though. My dad's really into it and reading the new books, and my mum, she actually had she had a real side experience herself the other night. She was telling me about.
Oh, okay. Was that fun? Was it with one of the boys, or did she recognize what she was going through? Is that it?
Well, she told me that she had a dream where she was with a group of people, and they were all in a little circle, and they were all singing the New You.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Wow. Okay. She made it there. So, yeah, that's a recognition. She's, even on the real side, people are looking and they see it there first, but that's a recognition and a confirmation for her here. See, so she's made it to these group of people, and she recognizes it. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as she told me that, she then asked me if I could lend her the first new book, and so she's on a mini holiday at the moment, and she's reading it while she's there.
How cute, your mom. That's cool. Yeah, that's great. It's nice to see people as they become a little more aware. It's a lot to get through here because of the literal self. We've all been educated literally, and this is a part we need, just like our shoes or our feet, but it's not the whole body, you see. It's just a very small part of it. And this is where, people get lost here because, again, they become top heavy with their head. In other words, they're thinking that, they know certain things, but life is bigger and you have to learn to see it. And once you do, really, really see it, then your position becomes such that, yes, it's not the same. So we first figure out things literally. We have experiences. We like what we're experiencing, etc. But that's just the beginning. Yes, and the real side there is just the beginning, uh, because there's just a whole lot more to it that's not seen. So, but it's a start. It's a start. And this is where many times as time goes on, people kind of take it for granted. It almost becomes like a belief to them. And it's not that. It's an isness. It's better defined like that. But you need to recognize and read, be able to read it, really be able to see it as really what it is, really see it for what it is. And so, it's almost like watching a tree grow. If you watched it every day, you might see that, oh, all of a sudden, oh, there's a little leaf coming up over here or whatever. And you see that with plants and whatever. But, then all of a sudden it's bigger and bigger as time goes on. You see it. If you really pay attention, you can see what's going on. But again, most people don't pay attention. So they don't see it. And, all of a sudden the tree's big one day and, you walk by or a person walks by and thinks, oh, gee, how did that happen? Where did that come from? And then the idea is that just like what this is presenting, though, like I created the new presentation, it's like, well, what is this? Okay, what is this thing that's been created? And so many times the first thing that comes up, because people are conditioned a particular way, especially if they're in religion, it's like, okay, well, what is this? And, oh, it sounds good, but, oh, okay, according to my doctrine, it's probably something from the devil. Okay, see, again, all this conditioning, we relate to our conditioning, and this has been purposely done instead of relating to, at least our intuitive part to start off, and our imagination intuitive part. But this isn't what we're taught in school, and even by our parents. We're taught to be literal and to really confine ourselves and to basically many times fear things. And there are certain individuals that will take the risk and see more, but most people won't. So the world stays as it does. It stays literalized, stays self-confined, and it agrees to the demise of the planet from those who control it. So again, but all this is, while it's going on, you can utilize that as a comparison, you see, if you can see it. But again, most people become locked into their self-convictions. So little by little, life tries to give you the hints, and it starts with the real side where you're outside of your personal self. That's the first step, but there's a whole lot more. So, yeah, it's big. Life is big. And that's the cool thing about it. It's endless. Here, it's all limited. It's all, basically everybody's self-convinced. And they're just, it's like the noose gets tighter and tighter. Yeah, it just gets tighter here and more confined because this is how it's set up. This is how cause and effect creation is. So it becomes very interesting. Here's Mr. Bill. Yeah, so have fun with your mom. That's a step. And as she does the new you, you learn to, recognize what you decide. You decide what you want to recognize, you see? So that's the fun part. That becomes the adventure. Yeah, because that's what this is. It's a real adventure. It's not a doctrine. It's not a teaching. It's an adventure to recognize what's real, because the isness life already is. It's already complete. Yeah, you can't add to it. So best thing to do is go on the adventure. And as you're doing that, allow it to show you what's going on. So you kind of put yourself in a certain mode, so you kind of offset yourself from that literal side, because that's where you actually free yourself. Yeah, because the literal side is just conditioning. That's not you. It's just conditioning. It's program in your mind. That's all it is. You really don't need it. But in the meantime, you have to deal with it, and you can use it as a comparison. But really, you don't need it. You don't need any of it. We don't need any of these things. We don't need technology. We don't need businesses. We don't need all this foo-foo we've gone through. We really don't. We'd be better off without it, because it's all just creating demise for everybody, even though it looks good and people think they're successful. They're not. There's no success here. Only with your real awareness and recognize it. Then you have everything. Yes. Yes. You have a real situation instead of a simulator. We're in a hologram here. And there's the real you in a real life. But it's a recognition. So you got to go through creation first. First, you go through the simulation. Like little babies playing with blocks. You go through the simulation first, and eventually you figure it out. So again, good for you. Yeah, your mom is, it's always interesting to see how far people will go. You've come across this in past lifetimes, many times, but you gave it up. That's why you're still here. But it's a big journey. That's why it takes millions of lifetimes. Lifetime is nothing. It's just a snap of your fingers. But it's a real endurance test for any of us to, position ourselves in a real nowness and recognize this, and you might say stand real with it. You could think in the terms of holding on, but it's not really holding on, but it's really just recognizing how to stand real with it. And again, because the world is so literalized, most people, they won't stand there very long. They will just start chasing things again and chasing ideas and all these things. And they're just ideas in the world. And they're not needed, but at the same time, people have the right to create whatever they will. And you can do whatever you want. And you decide to see it or not. Yeah.
Let me start with some what I'll call stories from Congo Democratic Republic. These two stories were sent to me by Mariam when I requested yesterday to know whether there was anything to share. And these two experiences are those of Dida. Dida is a new friend there. So in the first story, Dida is a new friend who has an ex-friend. And he has often had lively exchanges with his ex-friend, who remains committed to eckankar and has a strong attachment to his master, Harold. For many months, they are not communicated, probably due to their differences, as it so happens these days. I also have friends with whom we sever communication. I'm the one trying to communicate. They will not talk to me. severed links. I said, well, no problem. So during this no communication interval, Dida came to realize that his friend had undergone some great suffering. That's when they started talking. He had sleep difficulties, had nightmares, and other frightful things happening to him. The point where he had to contact a pastor to help him out. But without success, the pastor could not stop what was happening to him. So this friend decided to contact Dida again, and this time begged him to give him an audio on how to sing the new song. So when he started doing it, there was a calm that came over him, and his nightmares became a thing of the past. But the intriguing thing of all is that when he started doing the new song, he found himself mired in thick mud, and he even saw Harold with him in the mud. But paradoxically, his master Harold was giving him words of encouragement. Meanwhile, he himself was in the mud. So that is Dida's assessment of the situation. So I don't know whether Duane has anything to say about this story before I narrate the second one.
Yes, thank you, Charles. Yeah, these are always fun, and yes, as long as he's with Harold, he's going to be stuck in the mud. He did see that. That's cool. Usually that's not exposed, but he has some awareness to see it. Most of the eckas, they can't see it because they don't have the awareness, even though they have the knowledge. They have the so-called teachings. Well, that's whatever. But he's able to see it. And Gloria Wong is here, and she went through the same thing years ago when we first met Gloria, and she had all kinds of physical problems. And I'm not saying this is just going to heal you instantly. Everybody's different, okay? But Gloria went through that, and when she started doing the new you, things changed very rapidly. So when the person is ready, when the boys know that that person is ready and they'll step up, and sometimes it takes extreme positions like this, and it's okay. It's okay. We finally get through it. It's the storm, and to see what's going on. Again, what is being presented here makes sense. That's all. It's just so simple. It makes sense. And like when Val first came on, the second meeting on Skype, he said, this is a no-brainer. It's not. It's just very, very simple. And so again, yeah, thank you so much. Yes, that's really cool. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see who has the courage to continue the adventure. It takes a lot. It really does. Hey, you look at what you've been through so far, Charles, this life, and all of us have been through a lot. And it seems like a lot, but it's really nothing compared to what we're going to go through to figure out, continually figure out and recognize what is more so than just creation itself and the restrictions that we keep agreeing to. So it becomes a very interesting adventure. But yes, thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. In the second story, Dida says, actually, this is the experience starts while he's at his home, in bed. It's a very sad experience. So he says, a friend gives him a call. His friend is Jean Bosco, and he calls him and tells him he is late. So he hurries to the meeting spot, which is down the beach. So when he arrives, he sees Jean Bosco with a kind of booklet in hand, and he's serving as a kind of receptionist. And he sees a vessel anchored, which looks like a flying saucer. This huge vessel has many people of all races in it, and everyone in it is very happy. And particularly, he sees members of his Congo discussion class, and every one of them is happy. And he even sees the lady Beatrice Kabila, who tells him he's always not on time. And then Dida replies that he no longer sees her at the book discussion classes. And this is real. So he walks over to Mariam and asks her where the vessel is destined to. Mariam tells him that they are going to sail beyond infinite. And Dida makes a tour of the vessel, and as he's making this tour, the vessel suddenly gets going, with waves all over the place, all over the sea, all over the water. And then he sees Duane and Eva and Kelsey behind, who are preparing to surf the waves caused by the movement of the vessel. He himself is very excited at this thought, and he thinks of giving this to give surfing a try, because he's never done it. So he says it's so real and so magnificent, this dream. So he gets off a smile on his face, and he says the vessel in question is the very one he sees on the Facebook page, the vessel where we have the vessel project. He says it's the same vessel he sees. So this is very exciting, and I would like some comments from Duane on this.
Okay, well, after I get done crying here, the thing being is that, wow, that's so cool. And this is Diedo. Is he the one that usually, he's the well-to-do kid that kind of young, and he's the one that had dinner one time with Miriam? They had a picture, and he usually takes selfies of everything he has or whatever. That's the fellow you're talking about?
Yeah, Dida.
Dida, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a man, right? It's a boy. It's a man, right?
Yes, it's a man.
Yeah, okay. Well, good for him. So again, when it comes into it, when people are ready to have the recognition, and it does take a lot. It's like getting a degree in college. You don't do it overnight. It takes a lot of persistence to go through the courses and, get your degree. Well, yeah, I would go over that with him again, fine tune it, because he'll see more detail of it. And then if you could write something up in that, in both languages, Charles, that's really great when people have these experiences. And yes, the vessels are already finished on the real side. And it's always very close, but there's huge opposition. But I wish I could tell a lot more, but there is a lot happening, and this will come to be. The vessels are very important. It's not that they're a vessel. It's just that it's a demonstration for people here. People need the demonstration. They really do. And this is where, as we go out and we do whatever, we create the activity, we're creating the demonstration. because that's why people are here. They want to learn. They need the demonstration. That's why we're in creation. We demonstrate to ourselves, and this is very important. That's why I created the projects. I see this. I see what's going on. It's not like in the past where we're sitting, just in chairs and listening. And so this is why, like in Africa, Miriam's had her class there, but at the same time, they need projects. They need to demonstrate to themselves more than just, words. Okay, so again, words are reference. That's all they can be. They cannot be a reality. And so this is where you figure out how to creatively demonstrate. So I've taken this task on and to, everything that applies to it, but there's a much bigger picture here that I haven't told. And it's not time yet. Because people, as always, they're going to be confused. Okay, you can't explain everything, but as it comes along, you can't tell a person, your child that, oh, we plant the seed in the ground, and someday when you're bigger, it's going to be a tree. The child is not going to understand that. It's got to see the demonstration. It's got to all of a sudden one day it's big and that remembers that it planted the seed. And so, again, this is where we need the knowledge to remember why we came here, what we're doing here, not just to do this or that or create things, but why did you come here? What are you doing here? So you need to remember that so you see the process of things and put it all together. And what's the real purpose of anything? And to have a real purpose. But you came here because you need this experience to eventually recognize this isness. And so the Vessel Project and everything else is a part of that. It helps create demonstrations to where eventually the person starts to see what's real. Okay, so that's so cool, Charles. Thank you so much. Yes, good for him. And I would write that out, Charles. I would write that out in both languages and then present it out there and even create a group on it, whatever. The fellas finally having some real side experiences and sharing them. I would play on that, just like anything. So because there's a lot of people that are looking for that, and they'll better understand, especially if you do it. So, have fun with that. Thank you.